Greetings, YouTube. Anybody lazy that just clicked this video? I got you. Because you were probably too lazy to read the new developer update today. Or maybe you just didn't know. I'm going to call you lazy. But I'm a solution to laziness. Because I am your audio ebook, KarQ. And I'm going to read this article for you. You ready? I'm ready. The director's take. Making a Great Match by Keller. 2 weeks ago, we talked about balance and matchmaking in our blog update. And matchmaking has continued to be a big topic in the community. I'm gonna mute the bots in the background. And it's something we've been focused on internally. If it's important to you, then it's important for us to talk about. So I'd like to update you all on what we're seeing and doing. I forgot to give you context on this article. This is pertaining to matchmaking and people experiencing poor matchmaking. And Keller, the game director, is being transparent here and trying to explain what's been going on under the hood. Let's dig in. One note before we begin. I think we're at risk of sounding like a broken record with our communication on matchmaking. Quote, "We're working on it and it's getting better," isn't the best message, especially when players are still experiencing bad matches. So, I wanted to share some data to help you better understand the state of matchmaking and the impact of some of our recent changes. Let's get into it. Over the past week, we've made changes to the system that have brought down the skill gap between players in a match significantly for high and low MMR matches. If you look at the ranked skill difference chart below, if you guys are listening to this, you're gonna have to tune in a second to look at this graph. Nickelback, look at this graph. You can see two spikes that negatively impacted match quality in Season 3 and the recent changes that have started bringing this back down. Now we're almost back to where we were when Season 3 started. Looking at the high MMR group, GM players and above, roughly half of our matches have an MMR range of about 4 to 5 divisions, while 25% are at a difference of about 5 to 6, and the worst 1% of matches are at 10 divisions apart. I've experienced this. I was GM1 and I had a legit platinum player. A couple of those games were uploaded on YouTube. I usually don't fuss about this kind of stuff because I actually enjoy making content with it. If I have a platinum teammate, which is probably over 10 divisions apart from where I am, it always makes for a good time. I think it's an enjoyable experience to see what I can do as an individual to adapt and make it happen. I mean, the matchmaking stuff is out of my control. I could get salty about it, but I think it was just it was a fun way to kind of like micromanage and macro manage. Nobody likes being micromanaged, but like they were suggesting, I remember that game, they're like, what should I do better? Like they're typing it out. They said their hands were shaking, but they didn't really talk in chat. But I remember they're just like, what could I have done better in this ultimate there as Kiriko? And I was like, kind of explain it. And we almost won. Billy was goated. Some people in the chat right now down below remember that game. It was with Billy, good old Billy. And I had another one on Havana on the channel you should check out. But in any case, let me keep reading this article. Worst 1% of matches were roughly 10 divisions. Grouping behavior drives a large part of this gap. Remember, in Masters, players can group with other players who are up to 5 divisions apart. So, we have a couple of graphs here. This is called the competitive role queue intra-match player delta percentiles. So, we look over here, high ranked, medium ranked, and low ranked, and then we have a legend where the yellow line is the 50th percentile, green is 75th, the teal or the cyan one is 95th percentile, and the purple is the 99th percentile. So what can we do to interpret this graph? Okay, let's take a look at this. I believe what this is trying to explain is the amount of divisions apart, and this number here is I did stats in university for like half a semester. Is this like the K value or P value or something? All right, I'm gonna sound stupid. I don't actually know exactly what I'm looking at here. I understand what high ranked, they say GM plus, medium ranked is probably like diamond, platinum. Low ranked is down here. This is the delta. Sorry, the delta. Okay, so basically I see spikes. It went down February date time. March. The beginning of Season 3 was February, what, 6th or something? It's been about, and then it went bad for a while between up until like February 18th, and they applied a fix. It got bad, and then it applied a fix again. Now I need people who are smarter than me to explain what this is. It's a delta. So the difference between the sub tiers, the difference between gold 1 and gold 2 is 2.0. Every streamer has seen this graph and their eyes glaze over it. Okay, but I'm gonna. Okay, so it seems like the medium ranks weren't suffering too much with too much variance. Listen, the straight line graphs mean there's not that much variance. The division of the matches should be quite equal, but I think within this period between early February 14th and between February 22nd to close to March 1st, there's a high discrepancy in the difference between your matches, the delta percentiles. Okay, so the 99th percentile, which is like the GM players up here, probably oh, this is your Y. This is from 0 to 2 or 0 to 3. This is probably a 0.51, 1.52, 2.53. So the 2.7 is that would be the difference in the divisions expressed as a delta percentile. Got it. I understand it now. So 99% of the players, the percentile, this is at 2, close to 2.5 during this rating. It's now equalized close to back to where it was in the beginning of the season before it got bad. In any case, they're just being transparent and showing this graph to you guys, how the medium rank wasn't affected, the low ranks were affected, and the highest ranks were affected. Okay, so that's where we're at as of March 6th, right here. Let's talk about a bit how our matchmaker was working at this point and the changes we're making to improve it. I'll try not to get too into the weeds. When our matchmaker tries to make a match, it looks for players as close to each other's MMR as possible. And as it continues to search, like you're longer in queue, it will expand to players with larger differences in skill. And prior to Season 3, we had the ability to control the rate of expansion independently for each queue. Okay. In Season 3, we changed how our matchmaker expands over time, but we removed some of our control over per queue behavior. This meant that if we wanted to reduce the size of skill differences in competitive, we had to do the same thing in unranked and arcade. What? Huh? If we wanted to get shorter queue times for unranked by expanding skill differences requirements, we could do that. But then competitive would have wider skill differences too. So you're telling me, if I understand this correctly, the TLDR to decipher this, explain like I'm 5, is the algorithm is kind of shared. If they make a change into one queue, it affects the other one. So previous to Season 3, they were independent. But as of a Season 3 change, the algorithm kind of got merged. It's like one giant system and they weren't separate. So the question it begs the question, why did they remove the independent tweaker or the tuner? Well, we don't know. I'm not a programmer. No, none of us worked on the algorithm except the developers at Blizzard who've been doing it. So KMac says they might have been rebuilding for the whole thing and they had to go simple for a bit. That's true. An unintended change. Yeah, previous season controls were independent, now they are not. Maybe some developers or project managers can understand like this could have just been a temporary thing they implemented while they work on a new one. Honestly, not sure why they did that, but we can only guess. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that they're rebuilding the system like KMac in the chat said, and this was a simple band-aid fix for now. Okay, in the patch we released on Tuesday, which is March 7th, we implemented a first of a series of systemic changes, more are coming in Season 4, that give us back the flexibility to tune these modes separately and gives us new ways to tune the system. Competitive can once again have its own set of parameters for how wide the skill gap can be that are separate from our other modes. This week we'll be tuning these values to tighten the skill gap in competitive as much as possible while keeping an eye on the queue times for that mode, a happy medium in between. Additionally, in the mid-season patch, we added the capability to sort parties together that have a similar player delta. We're now able to get similar parties together in a way that minimizes role delta, which has resulted in significantly lower party queue times. It also concentrates wide parties together, which has made a dent in our player MMR delta. Hopefully that provides some much needed context for you all and helps you see the amount of work going into the system. However, your experiences are what really matters. So we'll be collecting a lot of data this week and listening to all of you as well. I'll be providing some short updates soon, most likely through Twitter. That's it. Hopefully we'll be moving on to other topics for future updates. See you on game, Aaron. Well, honestly, I appreciate Blizzard doing their best, because a lot of people have been complaining. I hear it a lot as well, even in this chat on Twitter. It's an echo chamber on Reddit, the forums. Matchmaking is bad. People are getting mismatched games. It's not fun, and your experience does matter. I'm not dismissing that. I appreciate their insight. They showed us some graphs, although I wish they could have been a bit more descriptive. That's okay. Gives you an idea that it's kind of like fixing. They addressed that there was a little bit of an issue between these dates, so you were not being gaslit and going crazy about the matchmaking. It did have high disparity, a high delta during those periods of times. I will say my matches the past couple of days have been a lot better. My queue times have increased. I was getting 5, 6, 7 minute queues yesterday, but I do recall during my streams, when I was doing long streams during these days, I genuinely was getting 30-second queues or less. And there's video proof here. And the reason why is they probably just grabbed people from a wider division, and it was a very short queue time, but it was severely mismatched games. That is true. Getting some platinum players, some diamond players into lobbies that they probably shouldn't be playing in, relevant to my skill levels. And for the others who are, I don't know, maybe silver, they're getting pulled into a high diamond game, for example, as well. This happens across the board. 2 days ago, as in your game, we had a diamond. That's okay. I think the diamond front-facing rank is not as big of a deal as you think. As long as the game didn't feel bad. When I got that platinum player, I could certainly tell that they didn't belong there. But the other times I actually got like a platinum player, they said they were sort of masters in Overwatch 1, they just haven't played in a while. They played fine and the match didn't feel terrible. And I think that's why I try to stop looking at people's profiles these days, because it puts this like negative cognitive like bias over how I'll like perceive and play the game. So I just don't bother unless somebody else on my team brings it up. I feel like, because like you look at a person, if you view their profile and you see they're not supposed to be there, or they like, you start playing differently and you just get tilted faster. I feel like you just play your best, and this is a little bit out of your control. But in any case, thank you, Aaron, for the transparency. The bottom line is, again, you were not going crazy during the periods of February 8th to maybe 15th, in the period between February 21st to February 28th, like 2 weeks of pretty poor matchmaking, but it should be okay now. So let me know in the comments if your matches have been better as of the past few days, and that is all for this article. Pretty short.